Hey, my name is Conor McGilligan. Strap yourselves in. This is the Rumour Mill. This is One Leeds. Welcome back to the latest video. This video, as always, is sponsored by Shop GNO, the Job Match Group, and Match Bingo. Let's get into it. First up, the Job Match Group. Whether you're looking for your next big gig or just browsing, the Job Match Group has niche job sites made just for you. F1, retail, security, and loads more. They're about matching the right person to the right job. Make sure you check them out if you're ready to level up your career. Then we've got Shop GNO, an exciting new e-commerce site where you can grab exclusive deals and discounts. Right now, One Leeds has an affiliate link just below where you can score a 25 quid membership for free, unlocking special rates and benefits. You can even list your own shop on there with way better rates than Amazon, eBay, and Vinted. They've got some Leeds bits and some general bits now and launching soon, plus some great prizes just for signing up. This is all powered by a massive Leeds United fan looking to make waves in the online shopping world. So check them out and support your local. And don't forget our mates at Match Bingo. They're smashing it with footy fun. You can get 5 bingo cards for the price of 4 through One Leeds, and you can even deposit just £5 at a time to join the action. It's a big chance to win whilst having a blast with your fellow Leeds United friends. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Check the links in the description, and let's get on with the video. Well, hello, you lovely lot. How are you doing? My name is Conor McGilligan. This is the Rumour Mill. What is going on in your world? Listen, we're back here talking Leeds United. We've been going on the Rumour Mill, I think, from around about 2 days or 1 or 2 days after the window ended, right? After the window ended, we've been doing the Rumour Mill for that point. So it's been nigh on nearly 3.5 months right now. My goodness, everybody, we have about 4 days left now. It is an absolute necessity. Leeds get players in. We're going to be speaking about it right at the very end. Right at the very end, there's going to be discourse, there's going to be debate, there's going to be discussion. I've got talking points that I want to bring to you in terms of the situation that Leeds United are in right now. I want your opinion. Is there a situation? Are we being a little bit over-exaggerated with said situation? Fly. Get off. Or is the Leeds United squad at this moment in time comprised of quality, efficiency, and depth, in your opinion? So we're going to get to that at the very end of the video and the end of the window. Wait and see. We have got some summary bits coming next week. Make sure you are tuned in next week, regardless of the result. Let's have a bit of discourse, debate, and discussion next week. Let's highlight what's gone on. How has this, ebbed out? Newcastle game, end of the transfer window. Transfer window Monday is going to be a big day on the channel. Make sure you're locked in. You know what happened last time? Make sure you're all locked in for the big streams. Also, I have to say, look at this. A 93-94 Maradona edition of a Newell's Old Boy top. Also, an absolutely lovely, if I say so myself, Inter Milan top, of which green screen, so you don't get to see the badge, but lovely. Brilliant quality. And my absolute favourite, my Italian sweethearts, Lazio. Look at that. Look at the quality. Listen, guys, this is OK jersey. The quality, unbelievable. Make sure you check it out. Link in the description below. I got these all for a combined 40 quid, I think. So make sure you check that out. I'm loving it. Well worth it. Much better than paying the high street prices for these football kits, and it's the exact same quality. It's replica at a high street price. Make sure you check that out. Also, check out our sponsors as well. Everybody, we've got a fantastic e-commerce site, Shop GNO. They've got brilliant listings on there, from paintings to they're looking at lodges, houses, upper echelon stuff, but then they've got football boots, they've got Leeds bits, they've got football bits. Make sure you're checking out stuff on there. You can list your shop on there as well, everybody. 5% cheaper rates than eBay, Amazon, and Vinted. Job Match Group. Some of you looking for jobs at this moment in time, really struggling. The Job Match Group will help you out. They'll help you tailor everything to your specific needs, whether or not it's retail, security, whatever you want. Job Match Group is very specific and very unique in that realm as well, everybody. Bet, mate, have you got it sorted? Have you got your fantasy stuff sorted for this weekend? I have. Pick your 7 players, enter a pot. £1.50, £3, £5, £10 pot. That's all gathered together. The winner gets everybody's entry fee. 7 players, pick it. Do it, guys. It's a good little adventure to do so. I've been doing it now for a couple of weeks. They're sponsoring the channel. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay, so let's get into a few of your comments, shall we, everybody? Morning, Connor Laddie Robson. How bad was that? We are Leeds. Morning, Connor. How is Grimsby Gabe? Gabe's been on the whiskey all night. He's buzzing. Grimsby Gabe. Obviously, they've come away, beating Scum on penalties, and it's interesting, isn't it? Like, did that make the Leeds result any better? Like, of course it did to a certain extent, but no. The meltdown that has been happening has been fully justified with that, and everything that's come out after that Sheffield Wednesday result. I mean, at least Man United scored penalties. At least they scored 11 penalties. Do you know what I mean? I mean, look, Grimsby are League 2, which is very different to Sheffield Wednesday, but will Grimsby be in existence in 12 months' time? I think they will be. Sheffield Wednesday won't be, probably, or at least in dire straits. So, no, it's not taking away the severity of that result for me when it comes to Sheffield Wednesday. So, morning. I don't think they work over the weekend, so we have to get in today, tomorrow, and Monday to see signings in. Don't think it's going to happen. RW, Cam, and Striker. Definitely all around, all better that Grimsby got Chef Wed in the 3rd round. Morning, Elmy. Hello. How's everything going? What's going on? Smash a like. Hi, Tommy. Good to see you in here. Cheers as well, Chris and Adam, for letting everybody know in here as well that we're just going to be a little bit later because of technical issues, which happens when you're doing this every day. Okay, Bilal El Khannouss. Connor, what are you going to tell me about Bilal El Khannouss? Well, it's going badly for him at Leicester City. So what did we know? The primary objective was with him to leave Leicester with an expiry clause, right? The expiry clause, release clause in his deal was 25 million quid, of which everybody was scrambling toward to get before the 14th of August, I believe it was, 15th of August. That didn't happen. Nobody was able to trigger that release clause. Was that because El Khannouss was maybe waiting on for other offers all the way to the back end of his expiry date of the release clause? Probably. But now Leicester City, because of the sale of James Justin to Leeds United and Casey McAteer to Ipswich Town, do not need to sell Bilal El Khannouss, which what a brilliant position that is. But from a PSR standpoint, Leicester don't need to do it. Now, will Leicester do it? In general, I think they'd like to. There has been a few, I think he's removed his profile picture on Instagram, which nowadays on social media, we all know if you remove your profile picture, and I think he might have taken Leicester out of his bio. It's not a good look, is it? Apparently he wants to leave. He's pushing for the move to get out of Leicester before the deadline on Monday. Apparently he doesn't want to go to Saudi. The Saudi club's offering, allegedly, big money for him. So Leicester in a position now, very, very healthy position, which you don't expect Leicester to be in with their financial state, but they are. They're in a very healthy position when it comes to Bilal El Khannouss, where they can turn round and go, nah, we don't need to sell you. We don't need to sell Abdul Fatawu. You know, do you need to sell Steffi Mavadidi? So good position for Leicester to be in. By the way, guys, if you want to join the Fantasy app, just look in the description below as well. We've got the QR code, which you can scan your phone on. A lot of people have been asking me. Links are all in the description for our sponsors. So, yeah, not going well. I kind of look at it and I'd be like, yeah, it'd be an amazing signing. It'd be a top signing for Leeds United. Bilal El Khannouss. Do I see us paying 35 million quid for him? We'll get into this at the very end of the video. No, I don't. Do I see us spending 35 million quid on a player full stop? No, I don't. Towards the back end of the window. So, yeah, keep an eye on that one. Could Leeds maybe go in towards the back end? I can see like almost like a little bit of a panic buy at some stage. Like I could see that, or a panic bid. But do I see us actually being able to get this one over the line? I don't think so. Let's have a look. Kingy's, hey Kingy, I honestly do think we have enough money left or recruitment power to bring in enough to keep us up. Kingy, I think this team right now, still, if it's shaped up in the best way, is this squad, is this team good enough right now to stay in the Premier League? Is it good enough? We're going to get into that towards the very end of the video, and I want to get your thoughts, so stay with me throughout. But is it good enough to stay in? Can we shape up to being a low to mid block? Can we adapt to certain teams to be able to stay in the Premier League? Can you drag a West Ham in? Can you drag a Wolverhampton Wanderers in? This is, in my opinion, the best opportunity that there has been in years. But literally, just probably since Forest, Bournemouth and Fulham came up. You know, the best opportunity in years where they're not just of the three teams come up got a better chance, maybe because of their window, their style of play, etc., etc. You look at Burnley, still in that low block, proved that against Sunderland that they can do that and they can do it to good effect. They were very unlucky against Tottenham Hotspur. In my opinion, I think the score flattered Tottenham Hotspur. You look at Sunderland, they've showed youthful exuberance, but they brought players in who've meshed when it comes to Xhaka, when it comes to Siddiqui, Diarra. You look at Leeds United, there are good players in there, which we've got from the top 5 leagues. So the recruitment's been okay when it comes to that. But are we setting up in the right way? That's a different question. That's a point towards the end of the video. But, you know, overall, right now, I think it is the best opportunity when you look at the meltdown that is going on at West Ham with their ownership, Sullivan, the stadium of which they're all still revolting against, which is completely understandable in that fishbowl. They can't generate atmosphere. Fans are giving up season tickets. It's all off the pitch when it comes to West Ham, which has a massive effect on the pitch, no matter who you bring in. Then you look at Wolverhampton Wanderers. If, no matter what Strand Larsen said the other day about, you know, I want to stay at Wolverhampton Wanderers, if Newcastle come in with a massive bid, let's say situation happens, they're not able to score against Leeds United. There is media frenzy around Newcastle not having a number 9. Asula starts, they can't, you know, they're still not able to conjure goals going forward or whatever. Isak's refusing to play still. They panic in and around Sunday, Monday. They go and get a Strand Larsen. The entire picture changes again. Now, Wolves are still going to be down there, in my opinion, but can we drag these teams in? Is our team good enough right now to drag these teams in? I think if molded and shaped in a certain way, it can be given, it will give ourselves a good chance, you know? Does it still need more? It definitely does. It definitely does. But can it be shaped better against certain teams than what it is being doing right now? And can there be a plan A and a plan B with this team? I think so. I don't think it should be a plan A and then doing plan A better. Don't think so. There's got to be a plan B. There's got to be a plan B, as Thomas Frank has said multiple times, you know, talking about staying in the Premier League and what you need to do. El Khannouss probably going to stay up at Leicester, says Tanya. I agree. Would you go for Brownhill on a free? No, I wouldn't. Do you know what, John? That's very hypocritical and contradictory of me. You've asked me about Brownhill. I bring Brownhill in as a depth option off the bench, not to start. No, I wouldn't. Not to start. And this very much follows my track record when I'm talking about players that I think personally can acclimatise to the Premier League, players that I don't think can acclimatise to the Premier League, and players that are in that middle bracket. They almost need a middle league. I think that's Peru. I think that's Brownhill. I think that's many other players. When you're talking about certain players that can make the step up, these are very good players. Very good players that can make that step up, because the jump's not 1 tier. It's about 6 or 7 tiers, in my opinion. Connor found the thing James Alcott said on his Rating Managers Future video, I think on his second channel, mentioned he watched the Leeds video of dad and son. Yeah, mate, I messaged James afterwards and I said, thanks for the mention. He said, yeah, he thought it was me. So, yeah, I've got James's number. Don't worry, mate. We had a bit of a chat about it, but thank you for letting me know. JC says, my biggest concern is that we have a lot of players that seem to love a vacation for a few weeks in the physio room. Last 2 games, we massively missed Ampadu. We can't leave ourselves short in key positions. Yeah, it's interesting as well when you look at the whole conversation right now when it comes to the midfield. And he said, hasn't he, I think the other day, that they're not going to be looking at the midfield market. And I get that to an extent, because Ampadu comes back, Tanaka comes back, and you've got that ready-made depth there. You go out and get another central midfielder, or at least you go out and get a number 6, right? You go out and get another number 6. You're not filling him in there. You're not filling him in. If anything, you need to get, I mentioned yesterday, the connector. You need to get a number 8. You need to get a 10. That fits in. Okay, Brownhill is better than Gruev. Different players, though, mate. Different players. Very different players. Tim says, might be controversial, Connor, but the way we're looking at the moment, bro, we are going to have to go way over PSR and try claw it back before next season. Oipa says, Biol is still to be tested, so not sure he's up to it. He's shorter pace, so that's a big marker. Yeah. Okay. Wanted to touch on this. Leeds have been interested in Matthias Fernandes. Now, we were just talking about West Ham. Now, I have to say, when we're dragging these teams in, I think my worry, I'll be honest with you guys, because people are saying, oh, well, Sunderland lost to Huddersfield. It's like, well, yeah, 3 teams go down. 3 teams go down. It's not just us. So, you know, when we're talking about Sunderland, we're talking about Burnley. These are the teams that are going to be doing exactly what we're trying to do. You know, bring these other teams back into it. What you don't want to see is these other teams towards the back end of the window making good signings. Now, according to several reports, we're just speaking about El Khannouss, and apparently West Ham are very, apparently they're leading the race right now. Crystal Palace are out of the picture when it comes to Bilal El Khannouss. They thought the valuation was too high. There's no other clubs, and the main club at this moment in time are West Ham United. Now we move on to Matheus Fernandes. Very similar positions, but Matheus Fernandes can be deployed a little bit deeper. We all know that Khannouss can almost be put into that roaming role, maybe out wide at points if needed. If you're playing sort of a narrowed three, which West Ham have done before. If El Khannouss comes in and Matheus Fernandes come in, these are the players of which I think, and we've seen, look, El Khannouss is categorised right now as a championship player, and he's not done that well in the Premier League, but the amount of chances he's created 45 chances in the Premier League last season. I think it's a little bit more about the covering midfielders. I think it's a little bit more about the lack of overlaps in the Premier League for Leicester last season. I think it's more around personnel in front of him and behind him, to be honest with you, with that Leicester quality. I think he goes to West Ham, El Khannouss, and I think you see a much better El Khannouss with the players around him, maybe even the system of play with Potter, even though that's been absolutely kiboshed at the minute or absolutely slammed by the media. Matheus Fernandes coming in as well. Apparently West Ham have got him down for a medical, as well as bringing in the highly rated Magassa from Monaco. Press-resistant midfielder, physical in that midfield as well. Just looks excellent on the ball. One of the better under-21s in terms of progressive passes as well. Up there with Adam Wharton, up there with Como's Nico Paz, of course, who Tottenham are interested in. But you're kind of looking at it right now. And will they get El Khannouss? Will they get Fernandes? And will they get Magassa? That is a different question. But Magassa looks like he's on his way for a medical. Fernandes looks like he's on the way to a medical, and El Khannouss looks like they're leading the race for him. As I've mentioned before, Fernandes and El Khannouss could be categorised as a similar position, but Fernandes definitely could occupy a little bit more of a deeper position and maybe replace James Ward-Prowse at points. Why are you talking about this, Connor? Why are you talking about West Ham United? The reason I'm talking about them is because I think they're genuinely one of the clubs that could be dragged into it right now, and I had them in my bottom three. Yeah, but Connor, what does that mean? Well, if they're recruiting at a really good level, which I think Fernandes is, I think El Khannouss is, and when you look at Magassa, I've not watched a lot of him, but at Monaco, the French media are raving about him. He's having a medical right now as an under-21. He's one of the top under-21s in the world, or Europe, I should say. If they're all being brought into a West Ham midfield, of which is lacking at this moment in time, the two games they've played, Sunderland and Chelsea, have just been absolutely dicing them open. It happened again the other day with Wolves. If they're addressing that situation, I'm looking at Leeds United as context, and we'll get into it at the very end of the video, and I'm thinking you've got to start moving now. We've got to start moving quickly. It has to happen right now. Right now. And you can probably tell that I've been measured throughout the whole window. I've been measured. But I'm getting to a point of which I'm thinking to myself, it's not a point where it's been like, reactive or anything like that, because I've not been like that throughout the full window. But there has to be movement now. There has to be movement. And when you've seen other clubs in and around us, you've seen Wolves bring in a couple of players or been linked to a couple of very decent players over the last couple of days and trying to get to that advanced stages when it comes to them. We'll get into another one in a little bit. You've seen West Ham moving on, I think, 2 or 3 really decent signings at this moment in time. Leeds need to be moving. We need to be addressing certain situations and bringing in the right players. West Ham have just signed him, just announced. Who is that? Is that Fernandes? Sky saying West Ham have had a bid of 42 million quid accepted, Connor, on Fernandes. So the likelihood is they're not going to go for El Khannouss then. That is the likelihood, because I don't think they're going to go out and spend 35 million on El Khannouss. I've mentioned before, I think you can deploy Fernandes a bit deeper. El Khannouss is a little bit more advanced. However, when you look at it overall, I don't think they're going to spend 80 million quid on Fernandes and El Khannouss. Leicester want 35 million quid for him. But that is a fantastic move for West Ham. A really, really top move. And with Magassa coming in as well, they've addressed the situation. And you always see that with West Ham United, with Sullivan in charge in particular. He always tries, when there's bad results, to go out there and really invest, but it never suits, it never sort of solves the off-the-pitch issues, which is consistent with West Ham United. Yes, Fulham apparently as well are looking at Bakwa. I've seen that. Sport OP mentioned that this morning. It is Sport OP, so take it with a pinch of salt. But yeah, let's touch on. We're going to touch on Fernandes Uche first of all, everybody. Now, this is a bit of positive news in my opinion. Now, when it comes to Fernandes Uche, we've mentioned it on the channel before, a very, very exciting player, someone who genuinely can play centre-back, central defensive midfield, central attacking midfield, and a striker, which is very unique in European football. Playing in one of the top leagues, has had much interest. Wolves have pulled out of the deal at this moment in time because they see it as, from the player side, it being too complicated. They had an agreement with Getafe. Getafe need to sell him. But the interesting dynamic here as well is that Crystal Palace have pulled out of the Bilal El Khannouss deal. Fernandes Uche generically is seen as a central attacking midfielder, albeit he can play everywhere. And Wolverhampton Wanderers are out the race. Nothing mentioned of Crystal Palace to a solidified status right now, but I think Uche fits them really well, and I'm going to tell you why. But I'm going to tell you why, primarily why he fits the Leeds United side. For me, he adapts between the midfield and the forward lines exceptionally well. Positionally, he's very, very good. Extremely difficult to knock off the ball. I mention this all the time, but when we're talking about targets who Leeds could maybe primarily go and get, he's press resistant, he's athletic. I think overall, he uses his body very, very well. You know, Leeds have mentioned, and the Athletic have mentioned that Leeds really do focus on body biomechanics. And I think that's really important as well, because your body distribution in the top league is ever present and ever so important. And I think Uche has an open body approach and a closed body approach at the right moments. His balance is very good, so he can go off his left, he can go off his right. Scans, he just looks a really, really top player. I think the only thing that I'd worry about him is maybe his shot selection, and sometimes he can be a bit rash in front of goal, as you've seen maybe with some of his statistics there. Similar statistics to the top level as Gus Hamer. 10 goal contributions last season for Fernandes, 10 goal contributions in the Premier League for Gustavo Hamer. But he can play in an 8, he can play in a 10, and as a number 9, I see him a little bit more as a Welbeck. So he can play in all of these positions, but he's absolutely selfless. And I think that's someone who we need right now. But he combines selflessness with a level of quality that will aid Leeds United in the transition massively. But he can play in 4 or 5 different positions, versatile, tick, connector, tick, athletic, tick, physical presence, tick, and quality on and off the ball, tick, tick. So, yeah, I think he fits the mold. He's not going to be, it's not going to be overzealous when it comes to money. Getafe need to sell, and the price is out there as below 15 million quid. So, yeah, you're going to have to deal and talk to him, and obviously there's going to be a high wage, probably demand put on him, but it feels like that would be maybe a little bit more of a guarantee in terms of quality. There've been a lot of clubs talking about him and talking to him this window, but they just haven't been able to get that deal over the line, similar to that of Armand Lariente at Sassuolo. It's just been that deal that they've not been able to get over the line in the final stages. Could Leeds United go and get him? I mean, we've been linked to him for a long time, haven't we? So, hopefully. Dan says, it's just so quiet. Leeds move quick. That's why I'm worried. Matthew in the building. Hi, Matthew. Matt said that 49ers moving slow simply doesn't work in the Premier League. That will cost us. Wolves are looking at Tolo Arokadere. I know you've been mentioning him for a while, mate. They will soon be above us. Arokadere is, as Chris has mentioned several times, I think he's a fellow countryman, isn't he, of Fernandes Uche. I think he's a Nigerian, powerful centre-forward. I think he's at Genk. And we were speaking about him right at the start as maybe a Rodrigo Muniz replacement at Fulham. And that's the profile and the calibre of the player. Very, very similar. Very, very adaptable to the Premier League. And these are my worries. It's that if you get a Wolves, maybe selling a Strand Larsen, or not even selling a Strand Larsen, which would be unbelievable bit of business. I think he's a top player. I mentioned at the beginning of the window, you shouldn't be going for Sesko. You shouldn't be going for Gyökeres, in my opinion. You should be both looking at Strand Larsen. I think he encompasses so much that some of the top teams are missing in terms of an out-and-out 9. I love him. I think he's brilliant, and he's the type of player that's going to keep Wolves up. So if you're trying to drag your Wolves, drag your West Hams into it, and they're bringing in big business towards the end of the windows, maybe when it comes to, an Arokadere, when it comes to West Ham going in for Matías Fernandes, and then maybe getting an El Khannouss. Leeds have got to frigging move. We've got to move. Market opportunities. And this has been a channel of which has been very, very calm for 3.5 months when it comes to this. But I tell you what, if we get to Monday and we are at a stage where, I mean, right now, look, we'll get into it at the end of the video. We'll get into it at the end of the video. We're going to express this at the end of the video. I need you guys to get in with me and maybe provide me with some wisdom. Hi, Connor. Realistically, how many signings do you think we'll make before the deadline? We'll get into that, mate. As a Sunderland fan, Uche is the one I would love us to sign. Excellent play. He looks brilliant, doesn't he, Fred? Looks absolutely brilliant. Love's in the building. Hi, Love. Just got here. I'll head to the start. Have a good one, man. YouTube, buddy. Thank you so much. Robin says, I think we should try sell Peru and Gruev. We'll get to that at the end of the video, my friend. I think we're trying to get loans in rather than top players. Have we got any chance of getting him, though, Connor? We should, Ronnie. We should have a chance. I don't know why not. You know, Leeds have been alerted. Leeds are interested. Leeds are fascinated. Leeds are courting. Go get him, Leeds. Go get him, Leeds. And I know we've been making a signing per week. I completely get that. But this has got to be 3-4 signings in 4 days. On average, 4 signings or a signing per day. That's how it's got to be right now. And we've got a very important Newcastle game in the middle of that as well and preparation for that. So we've been doing a signing per week, but has that been enough with what we've needed? I don't know. That's a different question, I guess. Okay, Jay says, 4 days, we have to start making waves like SeaWorld's Orca show. I agree with you. Guys, as well, I know you're in the building. Do us a favour, 1,300 of you this fine morning. Slap a like on the video. Really appreciate it. And just let me know in the comment section below if you've been enjoying the room mill over the window. We're nearly at the end. Monday's going to be a big day. Please join me throughout the day where it's going to be a bit of a transfer day. We're going to be touching on other clubs. We're touching on Leeds' situation. Hopefully, we're going to be getting some business done. And obviously, reacting to that Newcastle game, so stick with us. Okay, Largie. There's a couple of pictures with him leaving Leeds Bradford this morning. So a little bit of specifics into the detail of the Ramazani deal. So Leeds wanted a callback, which is interesting. Leeds wanted a callback, according to reports, according to Spanish reports, Dario AS this morning. Valencia wanted an option to buy. They both were pushing for this. This is why the deal's taken around about 10 days, according to a report I read this morning, 10 to 14 days to get done. So this has been in the works for a while now. But they both were basically trying to bargain on that. So Valencia wanted an option to buy. Leeds didn't want them to have an option to buy, which says to me that Leeds don't want to sell Ramazani. And Leeds wanted the call back in there as well. So you don't want an option to buy. So you don't want to sell him, obviously, and you're looking at a callback, which says to me that potentially they might think in the season that they need to go and get a larger Ramazani back for whatever reason. Valencia rejected that. So they both disagreed. Straight loan. That's how it's ended. Ramazani said that he's very happy to be at Valencia. He said he's physically fit and has been ready. He's spoken to Corberan already, really liked the conversation, and apparently, according to many reports, he could feature on Friday. And yeah, I thought he looked pretty sharp in pre-season. So yeah, 24 years of age, under Carlos Corberan. I think he'll do really well out there. It's a massive club. We were speaking the other day that this is Valencia's, I would say, is probably top 4 clubs in Spain in terms of grandeur. That they definitely are. The Mestalla is an insane stadium. I've been there myself. It's unbelievable. They're very unforgiving as a fan base, which is quite interesting. Valencia fans have very unrealistic expectations. They seem to be thinking that they should be beating Real Madrid and Barcelona. I remember that from Benitez saying that. I think before he went to Liverpool, he was saying they are a very, very expectant fan base. But it's a wonderful club, wonderful city, and I'm sure he'll really enjoy it out there under Carlos Corberan. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Mind-blowing, we'll let him go. It's ridiculous. Do we have a callback clause for Ramazani in January? We don't. Tanya, that was the whole negotiation, but they wouldn't agree to it. Mitch says, Connor, when you mentioned sell Peru, call it a lack of ambition, but I would hang on to him. If the worst happens and we're relegated, proven in the champ. If we get to Monday and Bamford and Gruev are still on our team, I'm going to cry. There won't be tears of laughter. Joel says, glad to catch you on my break, dude. Been a while. Thanks, Joel. Really hope we bring in body soon. Loving everything you do on the channel, dude. Thank you so much, pal. Lapis says, morning, Connor. Don't think DJ, Gruev and Perot are Prem standard. Desperately need a striker and creative midfielder. Sadly, defensive replacements didn't look great. Sack Farkas as your Boa and keep Ramazani for me. We are only delaying the inevitable with Farka. He won't last 10 Premier League games. Mark says if no one comes in and we miss out on Solomon, then we need a new team. Then we need a new team for buying players, unfortunately. And Fred says just a reminder: the window closes at 19 hours. Okay, let's get on to Facundo Buonanotte. Now, reports earlier on this week, guys, are suggesting that we're leading the race for this guy. Apparently, Leeds United are leading the race for this guy. Buonanotte wants Leon, but Brighton don't want to sell him to a European club. They want to keep it domestic. Why? Because he adapts to the league a little bit better. We saw it with Leicester last season when he was one of the star players. Apparently, they do not want to let him go to a European club, which has been the stuttering point with Dortmund, which is very interesting in itself, and probably will be the stumbling point with Leon. Leeds are still in the background, according to several reports. It would be a loan deal. Feels like it would be a relatively easy deal for Leeds to get done. Brighton and Leeds have done business before, as we know. Brighton have seen that Leeds can develop players. They will give players minutes. They're probably looking at our squad and thinking Facundo Buonanotte is probably just a tad bit better than Brendan Aronson, just a little. And you know, he could be an option off the right as well. We've got to think with loans that they have an expectancy that Buonanotte will play a certain amount of games, especially with the development that we saw with Leicester last season. It really develops him as a character fighting against relegation and being able to do what he did last season, which was be Leicester's best player. Brighton will be looking at that. They don't want to get rid of him, which basically instigates that and insinuates that his quality, they believe, can get to another level as well. Can Leeds harness that? Brighton will be doing things like looking at the players in around him, the situation Leeds are in, the coach, the system, and they'll be thinking to themselves, can Buonanotte be the best, you know, almost fit for Leeds United now so they get the best out of him. We know with loan players when it came to Eddie Nketiah years ago that there can be 15 clubs looking at him, and loans right now are like signings. The club, the parent club, will just look through absolute detail, ridiculous detail as to why he should be going to certain clubs. The environment has to fit, but Leeds are apparently leading the race. So wait and see on that one. Okay. Next rumour on the mill. Okay, so a few problems with Timo Werner, the ex-Tottenham and Chelsea star, has stopped following RB Leipzig on Twitter, which now social media days, everybody. We know that that is a big thing. Apparently, there are 2 Premier League clubs, according to a few sources yesterday and early this morning, in for 2 unnamed Premier League clubs, as well as the ever-present Leeds United in for Timo Werner. Now, what do we know about Timo Werner? Well, obviously, he would be a wide option. For me, it's a player who has struggled with injuries. Again, it's another one. It's another absolute... In the Premier League, we see a lot of them, and around Europe, we see a lot of them. There is just a lack of composure, a lack of authority in front of goal for Timo Werner. I understand in transition it could be exciting. I get it. But we've kind of already got a Timo Werner in Dan James who at Premier League level, not Championship level, but at Premier League level has sometimes been a bit of a speed merchant without being able to, you know, park the car, if you get what I'm saying there. Not being able to put the ball in the back of the net, not being able to apply that finishing touch. And I don't want this. I wouldn't want this. I don't think we need that. I get the transitional element. I understand the pace. I get it. But at 29, coming into Leeds United will probably be his last big contract. He wants to leave RB Leipzig on a permanent. As I said, there seems to be 2 Premier League clubs aside from Leeds after him. I would probably hazard a bet that it would be maybe Sunderland and Burnley. Burnley definitely will be within that 2 clubs. Not for me. Nah, not for me. I don't think there's enough quality on the ball. Off the ball, it looks decent. Will he be an impact sub? Yeah, it just strikes me as a bit of a headless player, of which I've looked at, and I'll be brutally honest with you, took the piss out of for the last 2 or 3 years when it comes to a footballer and what he brings. I think his authority in front of goal is wayward. I don't think he's got any composure in front of goal, and we need that right now. I've mentioned before, we need viable credibility in front of goal. You do not need someone who really, really struggles to maintain composure in front of goal, but he's quick. You know, you look now, he's 29. I mean, I remember back in the day, I think last time we were in the Premier League as well, he was a young, bright star coming in Chelsea. We're trying to invest time and money and effort into him. Not for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. So, as a Sunderland fan, I'd laugh my backside off if Timo Werner joined Leeds. Werner, joke. Just joined. That is a big no. Yeah, good to see that. I've not actually checked the chat yet about this. If the call back is true, they are thinking about sacking Farke. If the call back's not true, mate. This is a joke, right? Wonderful club. Bullseye Boys TV says, I suppose I was more thinking who get the best out of our players would be the best fit. Someone who could put the ball in the net. Everyone needs to calm down. Move on from Arsenal. Wednesday was irrelevant. I thought we battered them second half. We weren't clinical, but dominated with 25 goal attempts and 8. Do I go down that rabbit hole again, Dave? Are you gonna trigger me to go down that rabbit hole again? Does Dave trigger Connor to go down the rabbit hole again? The last bit, I agree with. Completely. And I respect your opinion, mate. And what a lot of people, and Griezmann's agreed. No, I won't go down that hole again. I'm not going to come out. I think there's no point in doing that. There's no point in going down the Sheffield Wednesday rabbit hole again. But what I would say is, mate, I completely disagree with that, apart from the last end bit. Just have a quick look on Twitter now to see if anything else has happened, just in terms of announcements. A lot of you guys are saying so-and-so's happened on Twitter, so I'll have a look. We're playing against kids. I don't want to go too hard on it, but I keep saying stone cold facts. Their first win of the season. One of their stands at this moment in time, just to give you the severity of the situation, is falling down. And chances we won't invest back into it. I cannot see, as a Leeds United fan, beating Sheffield Wednesday with a semi-starting 11 and then bringing all the big guns on towards the end and having the majority of the second half whilst creating nothing in that first half, which has been the problem so far in the Premier League overall in open play, as a positive. You're facing a team of which a 16-year-old is coming on and he can't have a gambling sponsor on his shirt. You've then got to the penalties and you've missed all 3, and they've scored all 3 with a lack of quality. The other night was utterly embarrassing, and you can call me negative or whatever, that's absolutely fine, but they are the facts. And the whole footballing world was laughing at Man United last night, but I'm telling you for a fact the whole footballing world was laughing at Leeds United the night before, and there's an argument, the Sheffield Wednesday loss, there's an argument that was even worse because of the situation they're in right now. The staggering, horrendous situation in which puts them into the red zone in any football pyramid. So there needs to be a reaction. I agree, though. There needs to be a reaction. Dave, everybody gets emotional with this football club, mate, because we all love it. Okay, let's get and let's get to the end goal now, which the reason I wanted you guys to stick around was because I wanted a few of you to. We're getting into the section now where it's discourse, it's debate, it's discussion. Okay, so what needs to be done right now? So you probably detected that I've got a little bit of an edge to me this video. I think we've tried to maintain composure. We've tried to how do I put this? We've tried to maintain composure over here. We've tried to maintain a level head and say, look, give them time. I'll judge them at the end of the window, and I will. There will be a transfer roundup with a very special guest at the end of the window, and we will be going through this. Right now, it's not about just keeping calm. It's not just about waiting. It's about instruction. It's about being forceful. It's about getting things done right now. They need to go out, and for me, there are still players on the books that shouldn't be on the books right now. Aronson should be on his way out. Harrison should be on his way out. Joel Peru should be on his way out. Why, Connor? Why are you saying Peru at the end as well? Joel Peru, I think if he goes out, he facilitates another attacking body coming in. A bit more of a guarantee at Premier League level. I've mentioned yesterday, I think he'll struggle at Premier League level. I don't think he's got any of the attributes, apart from being a finisher, but effectively the chances need to come to him, which rarely happens in the Premier League, and when it does, it's going to be 1 or 2 because the centre-backs are so good and the CDMs are so good, of which is the position that he likes to occupy. I think there would be, I would hope that in the background, maybe Cagliari, there's been talk of them looking at Joel Peru. If Leeds are to get a decent fee for him, in the last coming days, we can go out and get a Demirovic, we can go out and get a Mitrovic, we can go out and get whoever on the books, of which you can go out and get a number 9 who you can almost guarantee is going to fit the system a little bit more and fit the Premier League a little bit more. You've got to think about fits. Don't think about the Championship and what happened last season, how many goals he got. You've got to think about fits. You've got to think about stylistic performances in the Premier League and how he's going to match up. I don't see him as matching up from the start in the Premier League, which leads me to DCL and Mecha. I think Leeds have got 2 decent acquisitions there. I like what I've seen. I know you guys are hammering DCL, and I get that, but I think he will come good in the end. You know, you look at that game in particular, at least positioning, and I'm being a hypocrite here because I've said before that we need absolute guarantees, not just, oh, well, he got in the right position. But the reason I mention this is because I think, actually, when you drag down a lot of those 3 chances, DCL had the penalty, was a joke, but the 3 chances, I think there's a bit of context. The first was a bad miss. The second and third, I don't think were too bad. I thought he was quite unlucky with that. So at least he's getting into the positions which Peru just isn't getting into those positions. And I think it's because he's a certain positional player. And that is the player that Joel Peru is. And that's fine. It's been brilliant for us in the Championship because we had more time, we had more space, we had more opportunities. We conjured more chances. That is not going to happen in the Premier League. So for me, I think you need to get rid of Peru. I think you need to get rid of Harrison and you need to get rid of Aronson. That is not going to happen, I don't think. My rationale for Aronson is I don't think he's good enough. I really don't. I don't think he's good enough for a top Championship side. I don't. That's just my personal opinion. I know he was part of a top Championship side last season, but I don't think the numbers were great. And with the amount of opportunities, I think he gets into, spatially, I think he gets into really good positions. It's the second and third phase and fourth phase of which just is going to be gobbled up in the Premier League. I don't think there's been enough evolution in Brendan Aronson, even with what I've seen in the Championship, which is why I was quite down on him in the Championship. I don't think there's been enough development for him to sustain a Premier League season and to be playing a lot of minutes. I think when you look at Jack Harrison, the only way with Jack, and this is me absolutely grappling onto the meekest hope and fibres possible, is if he's a secondary left back to Goodmanson. But that's it. I mean, back in the Bielsa days, Jack was not, as you guys know, he wasn't. I wasn't a big fan of him, and I used to get a lot of flack for that. And I always said that as a left wing back, I think that is probably. Thanks, Lee. I appreciate that, mate. I think that's probably because I don't think going forward he's good enough. I think his output's really poor. I think his final execution is never there. I don't think. Once again, we're talking about composure with several other players. I don't think he's got it in the final third. I think he's got a good left foot. Makes good connection on the ball. Positionally, he's decent. Farkas mentioned his off the ball work. If he's a second left back, to an extent, I can deal with that. If you've got, I think the worry is, I think Gruev needs to stay. I don't think Gruev will leave now. I don't think that will happen because of our midfield situation. So Gruev won't leave. Meslier, I'm very disappointed not to see out the door, I have to say. But it is what it is. Meslier is probably going to be, he's not even in the squad, which I don't mind, or he's not, featuring ahead of Darlow, which I don't mind. Just don't let him anywhere near that sort of starting 11. That's fine. But Leeds, the reason I'm getting a little bit worried now, everybody, I have to say thank you as well, Jimmy. Guys, if you could all, it's been a slog for a long time doing the room mill. We're nearly at the end, which is a shame, but we will try and get more things conjured. So do us a favour, slap a like on the video and subscribe if you're not already. They've got to go and get 3 or 4 signings. They've got to bring in 2 attacking players, good attacking players. I would argue they need to bring in an 8, a right winger, and a striker. I think they need 3. If you're going to deploy, unless you're going to deploy Nonto on the right-hand side, and then you've got Nonto and James, but on the left-hand side then, is it Harrison? Because Ramazani's gone out. We've got Okafor out there. I think you need another winger. So you go out and get a winger. You go out and get an 8 or a 10 just a connector, a frigging connector. Just go out and get a connector to the attack who's got a bit of guile, bit of quality about him. And then I think you've got to get a striker. I think you've got to let Peru go. That's what I want to happen, because stylistically it's not going to work with him in the Premier League. Maybe for 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes off the bench, he might get a goal. He's going to get bullied too much in that division, and we've seen it already. You saw him get neutralised by Sheffield Wednesday's kids up front, at the back. And the closest he's coming is outside the box. It's his game. I'm not blaming him. I think he does well, but he's not going to get the time and space and the level of chances in the Premier League. And I just hope now Farke doesn't start him, but you don't have that guarantee with DCL and Metra either. But I think it wouldn't surprise me if they went out and if they got Emi Buendia on loan. I think Hamer's going to be really hard, but genuinely, from me to you, keep an eye on Hamer. Keep an eye on Gus Hamer. And we might be talking about him a little bit more in the next coming days, but he's expressed his feeling and his want to stay in Sheffield and be at Sheffield United, but it literally doesn't matter. If Leeds come in with a big bid, he's 40 minutes down the road. It doesn't matter. He's expressed he wants to play Premier League football, so that's an easy. What you've got to bear in mind, everybody, is go back to the beginning of the window when effectively they've said that they'll go for Championship players, but that is effectively if they've missed out on the targets. That is what we were told at the very beginning of the window by The Athletic. The Athletic said that if they go for Championship players, the reasoning behind that is because they've missed out on targets. They don't want that as the ideal, which is fine. I understand that. So if you go out and get Hamer, that is indicative, even though I don't think he's a Championship player, but he's from a Championship club, that is indicative that they've missed out on the targets. And they've effectively said, if you paraphrase that, they're going to wait till the back end of the window and they'll always be there. We all remember it. Athletic, right at the very beginning, they'll always be there. So I think Hamer is one of those. Uche is definitely one I would be looking at Getafe. I feel like that's an open goal right now. Khannouss looks difficult. Buonanotte looks like that could be a one as well. Emi Buendia, I think, will always be there because of Farke and because of the situation at Aston Villa. But I just think there needs to be more done. I mean, look, if it's me, I'd have liked to have seen more outgoings. I think that's been poor from the club, really poor from the club in terms of getting rid of players, especially Ramazani, which is still bothering me right now because you don't have pace. You don't have a player in between the lines that can cause problems. You don't have players who, right now, who get shots off effectively. That is Ramazani. And he surely has some part to play, especially if he's going to Valencia with Corberan. I mean, come on. So they clearly see something in him, and Leeds won't let him go. So I just see it as like, well, just can we keep him on the bench? Is he miles behind Noah Okafor? I don't think he is, if we're being honest. So, but I've been really, and it's not going to be an evaluation thing right now, but we are going to touch on this with a special guest coming up probably on Wednesday, that with Aronson, Harrison, Peru, Gruev, Meslier, Bamford. I have been disappointed with the outgoing so far. It might change, but they've got to get in. And I'm not saying that we won't go out and do this, but they've got to move today, people. They've got to move today. They've got to move tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday. And by Monday, clubs are going to know that we're desperate for certain players. So you ideally want it in before then. But that's kind of where I'm at with it when it comes to discourse, debate, and discussion. I've not been worried. I've not come on here and said to you guys, look, I've said to you, all of you, if you've been worrying throughout the window, I've said to all of you, don't panic. Wait till the end of the window. I have to say, from an honest perspective, I didn't expect us to get to 3 or 4 days toward the end of the window, and I think needing a number 9. I think we need 3 attacking players. I think there's an argument needing another left back, and just still needing bodies in, and especially at the front end of the pitch, which is the most difficult position to get done. That's kind of where I'm at right now, and I think where Leeds need some serious players to come in. Mark says, well, I'll leave it to everybody. What do you think? To Mark's question here, what do you all think? And guys, can we get some likes on the video as well? Do us a favour. We've got, how many have we got? We've got 451, and we've got 1,000 of you who haven't liked the video, who are in the building now. Yes, Adam, I will be getting the yellow the tie out. But what do you think to what Mark said on screen there? I don't want to give my opinion too much on it, but I'm really interested in what the consensus is. It was 75% the other day, no. I think for me, Mark, and I think for the one Leedsers, and you are one of them as well, mate, I think knowing my audience, which I do, I think if that happens and you've let Ramazani go, and you could have done this at the very beginning of the window if they wanted to, I think it would be a big failure. I do. At least you've got Okafor out there potentially, and then you'd have Solomon. But then I'd need 2 attacking players in anyway. You need a striker who can feed off him, I guess, and then you need a cam. But I think James is there with the yes. I think kind of when I look at it and I look at Solomon, I think there's so many warning signs with that. And I just don't know how many more warning signs, you need. I think we need some guarantees in there. Right, tell you what, I'm going to stop waffling. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you all. Look, it's not the end of the rumour mill. Of course it's not, but we are getting towards the very end of this show. I might continue this in the season as well if you guys just want your daily news and all that sort of stuff and you want to get and contribute to lives and all this sort of stuff. And we can do that absolutely fine. So I'll get involved in that very, very soon. But as I say, let me know in the comment section below if you fancy. Keep it respectful in the chat. Keep it with the guidelines. If you don't keep it with the guidelines that we've got on the channel, you will be removed. And that is kind of what I'm being staunch at the minute. I want there to be respectful opinions in here. I'm very passionate with my delivery, but I feel like I'm respectful with it. And I want to keep a subjective discourse in the chat after the video as well. Please be respectful. Please enjoy each other's opinions. But if you want to disagree, absolutely fine. Disagree, agree with each other, but do it in the right way, even if it is passionate. Check out all of our sponsors, brilliant sponsors, all of them really supporting us through the season. Shop G&O, the best e-commerce site on the web at the minute, which I've seen in terms of saving your rates when you want to list your shop over there as well. Fantastic stuff on there you can buy, from the upper echelon bits to the bits at the very bottom when it comes to affordability. Check out the job match group, tailoring jobs to every one of your specific needs, everybody. Well worth it. I know there's a lot of people struggling in the market at this moment in time. Check out OK Jersey. You know what to do. There's fantastic kits. Got our lovely Lazio kit here, and we've got a nice Inter Milan one. Well worth it. 20 quid. That's all they cost. 15, 20 quid. Get involved in that, everybody. Bet, mate. Get the QR code scanned on the screen when it comes to sponsor, or hit my link in the description below. Pick your 7 players. Get involved in the giveaways this weekend. Fantasy football, where you can win a bit of cash. Guys, my name's Conor McGilligan. Check out Match Bingo as well. 4 cards. 5 cards for the price of 4. 200% matching from Match Bingo as well. Yeah? Enter with 5 quid. They'll give you 10 quid absolutely free. Link in the description below for those fellas as well. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. I'll see you on the other side. Cheers.